Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around fantasy Premier League. My name's Serge.
My name is James.
And my name is Clayton.
Three of us back on the pod. International break is still ongoing, gents. We've had some international football, a little bit more for this week, but we can at least start planning towards a weekend of Premier League action and planning towards our teams as well. Last week did feel very much like just the usual standby mode for FPL, but this week we are going to get back into it. Enjoy the weekend of international football, gents. Did you watch England
thriller,
2, Ireland 0?
Brilliant. Yeah, great. Yeah, I watched the England game. I watched the second half of Portugal last night as well.
Oh, were they any good? How was my paysan doing?
Who?
My people, my brothers, my countrymen.
Well, we were losing to Scotland, so it wasn't looking great at one stage, but Mr. Ronaldo came on and made a difference, to be fair. So, yeah, he scored the winner late on.
No surprise there.
He's not gonna give up till he gets 1,000 goals, is he?
He's got to do it. He's got to do it.
I think my tweet of the weekend was Tony Cruz. Tony Cruz said, I wouldn't have got 900 goals if you counted all of my training goals as well. 900 goals is some achievement for that guy. Like, it's just the consistency of it is ridiculous. And I think we talk about Haaland now getting to a goal a game consistency, which is phenomenal in the Premier League. Ronaldo did that at Real Madrid. And you can argue the case that some of the teams in the Spanish league are just rubbish. But I think it was like 250 odd goals in 250 games for Real Madrid. That's a goal a game consistency over such a long period of time. It's not over like a 30, 40, 50 game stretch. Phenomenal goal-breaking stuff from him.
Yeah, it's the way he's evolved himself throughout time as well, right? Yep. Came onto the scene as like this flary, tricky winger and evolved into one of the greatest goal scorers we've ever seen. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no more GOAT talk. Let's do a bit of FPL then. Because Messi's the GOAT anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to personal preference. I don't think there'll ever be, that debate will ever be right or wrong. It just is your preference.
I think there is a right.
Listen to the intro of our podcast and that's it, right? It's end.
Yeah.
Would your dad agree, James?
Yes. Well, no,
nice.
My dad would maybe say like Pele, for example.
Nice.
But modern era, yeah.
I had, we'll get into some FPL talk, listeners. Yeah, we will get there. So I moved house last week and I have had, there's something weird in this house that I've moved into where my dreams at night have started getting really, really bizarre. Like bizarre.
Good bizarre, bad bizarre?
Neither nor.
Bizarre.
Just bizarre. And James, you've now been in 2 of my dreams.
Oh God, and I just said porn as well.
Nah, 2 of my dreams. And I can't explain them, but here is what they are. The first one was mid to end of last week, Wednesday, Thursday last week. Somehow we ended up in a 11-a-side football team. There were a couple of other players from the FPL community. It was like a Team South, but it wasn't quite Team South. And somehow we were playing Real Madrid under 21s, and they ended up. Well. They ended up lost with no game to play because they were on some training preseason tour or something, and we played Real Madrid under 21s. Why did I have that dream?
Did we win or not?
I can't remember. I just was bizarre at that point. I think I did wake up. We probably didn't win, mate.
I've got a gut feeling that you may have lost.
Why? Away from having an intervention here.
Why? And then, okay, the other one was last night, James, and was even weirder. And it pieces together some of the stuff that we talked about on pods. You, my brother, your dad, and I went to Glasgow to watch West Ham v Tottenham. Why we were playing in Glasgow, I have no idea. We also went in a new car that I bought, which was a little Fiat. West Ham, one thing that did happen, West Ham won in the 95th minute, which was, obviously my wishful thinking. We came back after the game and my car had been burnt out. You know, you see cars that had just been burnt out left. And we just stood there as just you, me, your dad and my brother looking at this new car that I'd bought that have just been burnt in Glasgow. Why are we watching West Ham Tottenham in Glasgow? I have no idea.
Well, I'm going to Glasgow in December, so something's hit your brain.
In my brain this whole week, and those are the only two weird dreams that have involved you, James. Clayton, you have not made it into my dreams yet.
I've not made the cut. No,
I think I'd probably be quite grateful, Clayton.
Yeah.
So, James, I don't know what's in store for us this week, but so far we played Real Madrid under 21s. We've been to Glasgow. My car's been burnt out. It's just very, very weird.
So with no car, how did we get home from Glasgow?
We didn't. At that point, I did wake up, and
just
that was the end of the dream. Yeah, that was it. We were
Great.
stuck. We were just standing
That's what
there.
I wanted.
So, I don't know if any of these dreams are forecasts for the future. I think I need to figure out what's going on in this house, because ever since I got here, dreams are just weird.
Okay. I don't know where to take this.
No, I don't know either. So if
How
there's
many
anybody
super
that's a
box a
dream,
day are you having out there?
well, this is it. One of the questions that we had in on Twitter for this show, I did see, and we can get to Superboc versus Sagres.
I'm a super bot guy. I'll be honest.
Are you? So here's an interesting thing. The beer that people drink in Portugal, whether it's Superboc or Sagres, is fully dictated by which football team you follow. Sagres is Benfica, and 80% of the country obviously follow Benfica. If you're a Benfica fan, you drink Sagres. Everybody else is Superboc. And that's just down to the sponsorship of the football clubs. And it's pretty tribal from that point of view. You won't often get Benfica people drinking Superboc. They'll only drink Sagres. I'll drink whatever's cheapest, which pretty much is everything.
There's a shock. Do they have like Tesco meal deals in Portugal?
Not that I've seen. No, like you can go to the supermarket and get a sandwich, crisp and drink and stuff. But yeah, not that I've seen.
You miss it?
Nah, not at all. But I'm back in 2 weeks, so let's get that classic egg and cress sandwich, cheese and onion crisps and coconut water incoming. FPL, how are we all feeling? Looking forward to the weekend. James, obviously you wildcarded.
No, I'm about to get destroyed.
Having what? Wildcard in Gameweek 3. I feel some sarcasm in that.
No, I'm going to get destroyed this weekend with no Haaland and no Salah, mate. But when I made the decision of what I went with last week, this was always going to be the worst week because the two of them are the best two this week. Next week, scary because of Salah. I mean, let's be honest, every week without Haaland's fairly scary. But this was always the worst week on paper. And I think it's not landed great for me this week now in the sense that the plan was Watkins or Jota captain this week to take it on. Both got very good fixtures and it's perfectly reasonable. But I've landed really unlucky in the sense that both of those two teams play in the Champions League on the Tuesday. That's really off-putting. The chances of that happening were pretty remote. That it was going to be both on the Tuesday. Does mean they're both better options for me in game week 5, but it doesn't help me in game week 4. So I'll be honest, this week captaincy, I could be any one of about 6 players, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, this is narrative, James, because you're missing Salah, but you've got double Liverpool defence, which very few people will have. So you could look at it and say you've got a great defensive lineup this week. Whether Watkins has got Champions League on Tuesday or not, he's still playing Everton, who are leaking goals.
Yeah, and Everton that we think is probably now going to have Jared Braithwaite back. We think he's rejoining full training this week. Okay. So if he's in full training, he'll go straight in once he's back. So, I mean, Watkins is a 5:45 kickoff on Tuesday as well. It's abroad. They're both away as well on that Tuesday. So in terms of minutes, you can see a reduction now for Watkins and Jota, although probably no more of a reduction than what it's been so far, it's worth saying. To answer your question, Clay, who's it bust on? Like at this minute, Trent.
Yeah.
Which I really don't like because I've kept 3 clean sheets. I'd almost prefer it more if they'd have conceded a couple in the. I'm like, I ain't keeping 4 clean sheets in a row.
And I'm planning on selling Gibbs White, so you know what's going to happen there.
Oh, jeez.
You're welcome.
That's a talisman no one should get rid of now this week. Yeah, Trent is obviously an option for me. I think Jota, I wouldn't rule out Saka, although that's pretty unlikely. But the game's likely to have goals, isn't it? Palmer at Bournemouth, Watkins, and Isak. I might even end up going Isak at Wolves, you know, because that's the safest one from the minutes perspective, and he's capable at any time. He's played last night, so he's kind of got a 3-week build up to it. Nothing in the week afterwards as well. I think even Not that he probably would have played at Wimbledon in the Carabao Cup, but that's the following midweek as well. So every anticipation of 90 from him. But then Wolves have changed system, obviously, in the last game against Forest since they got demolished by Chelsea. So I could, to be honest, it's like throw the dart this week. I might even do that. I might just put like 6 players on the dartboard and just throw it this week and see what happens. I really don't know what I'm going to do on captaincy this week. I'm sure you two do.
What are we doing, Clayton? Same?
Should we going for pancakes again next weekend?
I bloody hope so. I bloody hope so. Erling Haaland will be captain. It's a home fixture. It's the philosophy that we had last time around. If he's at home, then yes, got to stick the armband on him. It makes sense. I do think Isak isn't such a bad shout, James, to be honest with you. But I do think Erling Haaland is the one. And if I had Salah, yeah, it'd be a contender, but he's just in too good form. Did he play for Norway this international break? Did they have fixtures? They must have done.
Yeah, they drew 0-0 with some Kazakhstan or something, I think, on Friday, maybe.
Haaland's out of form then?
Yeah, sell. I think they're playing again tonight, maybe.
It's similar to like Saka being the most sold player this game week, isn't it? It's like out of form.
I think Saka, Watkins, Isak are top 3, aren't they? They're all sitting in my team. I think so.
It's crazy. Two of them are. I was really, as much as I'm holding on and holding my nerve, I did want to wildcard this week. This is the team players that I wanted to get in, but I couldn't quite justify the upside on it. I would have much preferred looking at my team having wildcarded, but I didn't think the points upside was going to justify pulling the wild card. The thing that surprised me most is the price rises. Like there's not been that many this week. I've caught 2 of them in Mbomo and Haaland. And the only 2 players that were on radar for my wild card that have had price rises that I've missed are Pedro and Diaz. And they were pretty much on the first day, on the first Saturday. So I wasn't going to wildcard and pull the trigger straight away. So I haven't actually, there's not been that many price rises since the first kind of weekend. I guess people have been sensible and holding back their transfers and waiting to see what happens in the international break.
Within our community, yeah. But I think there's a lot to take in from those 3 players are being sold. Like Watkins, with the fixtures he's got, you probably really shouldn't be coming off. Isak, Wolves away after conceding 6 in the last 2, probably shouldn't be coming off. Saka, I think, is every chance to be people's most popular captaincy choice for game week 6. Brilliant 2 home fixtures in 6 and 7. Probably shouldn't be selling. It's obvious why that's happening, isn't it? I don't even think it's necessarily a reflection of those 3 players. It's Haaland and Salah, isn't it? It's both find the money.
They've both obviously had 0.2 each in the season so far, and we're not even up to get to game week 4. Does there come a point, James, where you're worried because you don't own Haaland or Salah? I mean, Clayton and I don't have Salah, where you're like, okay, he's gone too far. Like if he got to 15.5, let's say another 3 increase, is it at the point now where it's like, wow, I have to scrimp and save too much to get him? And particularly if they both jump up by $500,000 each, then you're like 12.5 and 15.5. That's $1 million extra to get these guys.
To put Haaland in, if you don't own, you're breaking your structure anyway, whether he's 15, 15.2, 15.5, it's all going in the bin. So I think from that perspective, it probably doesn't make too much of a difference. Similarly, you can get from Saka or Palmer to Salah. It's not the jump as it is from, say, Watkins to Haaland. So no, I wouldn't read it that way. I mean, I'm planning to potentially, and although I think it's probably more unlikely than likely actually, but looking at plans of getting him back in around about game week 7, game week 8, when City have a next really strong spin of fixtures, and kind of planning that now based on Haaland being about 15.5. I don't think he will be, but planning that in, okay, if he is that price, what does it look like? How do we get there? To be honest, that little bit won't make no difference because the team's just getting broken up anyway.
And the flip's true for maybe you and me, Clayton, where the price keeps going up, it becomes harder to come off because you're like, right, I'm going to sell him take a small loss and then come back. I'm like, he's 15.2 already. I got him at 15. Yeah, no way I'm selling him, losing half my profit just to want to get him back at some point later down the road.
That's a bigger impact. Like with Haaland and Salah, if they're very unlikely to start blanking, but if they do have a period of 2-3 games without returning, I might want to dip one of them off and see the value you've got in them. Yeah, it does become tougher, no doubt. Sorry, Clayton.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, and obviously on my strategy, I'm looking to hold my wild card as long as I can. So I'm thinking, sure, Arsenal at home, Newcastle away. Is it the optimal time to own a Haaland? Probably not. But in the wider span of those fixtures, I'm not going to play the game of jumping on and off him and
Oh, there's
potentially
no
messing
way
around
you
with the
would.
value. Yeah. So I'm just very content holding him indefinitely on my strategy, to be honest, until I'm forced into a reason to get rid, I guess.
Yeah, most are on the Haaland already. Probably ain't selling until the point comes where he gets injured, right?
Yeah,
Yep, I would
exactly
say
that.
so. And similar probably
And
for Salah.
and he might not. I think Mo's a little bit different because it's closer to Palmer, Saka. With
Saka.
Haaland, the first transfer you make, you're putting at least like 6 million or so in your transfer kitty, right? And the spur then is to spend it. So it might be that people look at Haaland to a Watkins and then like a Harry Winks to a Palmer. That's the sort of thing you're looking at, right?
I did think that the move from Saka was to Palmer initially, not to Salah, in terms of the volume of where the transfers were going.
That would make sense, to be fair. I can understand people doing that
Well,
with Saka away to Tottenham and then away to City.
and the prices being closer to each other,
Yeah.
obviously, as
Remind
well.
everyone that Saka got a goal and assist in the same fixture last season.
Yeah, fair. But again, it's like what I said about the Haaland. There's like an optimal time to have someone, right? Where like the ceiling is higher than
Yeah, I
what
get
it
it.
typically
I
is. So,
think I, I'm not keen on people selling Saka this week at all. I still think that fixture, agree or disagree, Clates, was likely to have goals Sunday.
oh, yeah, agree.
Yeah, even though how strong you are defensively, the fixture just feels like that these days. I don't think we're going to get the City game be a 0-0 again. Really don't. And then those two brilliant fixtures in game week 6. So if you came off like Saka to Palmer and doing a hokey cokey, you're coming off for Palmer away to Bournemouth away to West Ham. Like, is that much of a gain from that? I don't think there is. Just suffer it.
Yeah, it's marginal, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
For the base of those two transfers, there's a lot of that as well. I found out on my stream at the weekend, a lot of people asking about moving like Gabriel to Robertson as an example for 2 games and then moving back. So, okay, yeah, sure. Robertson probably does like outscore Gabriel over the next 2, but how much has that got to be for that to be worth 2 transfers over this period? Has Robertson got to return twice and Gabriel/Saliba got to blank twice
I
for
don't
you
know
to
what.
make that hokey cokey? Well, it almost feels like that.
Yeah, I don't know what the maths is on that. Like, it'd be interesting to see what the value of a transfer is. I guess if we take a 4-point hit for one, then probably want for an extra transfer.
Surely you
Sorry.
wouldn't do that. Or
No,
-4
just
for Robertson for 2 weeks.
no, just trying to say like how much would Robertson need to outscore? He probably minimum of 8 points if the value of a transfer is 4 points, right?
Yeah, I think with that at the moment, when you're selling these assets, like I think particularly the Arsenal ones, like I'd seen wildcard teams at the moment got none, and that's okay. But you're going to want to buy some in 6, I think.
This
I
is
think
my
so.
big takeaway, right? With Mbomo and Saka and Gabriel sitting there, I'm well set for game week 6. And I'm kind of like, I just don't feel like breaking things up for game week 4 and 5 at the moment. And if I do, I can do it with some of the more enabler style players because of Brighton. And Brighton have got a good couple of fixtures. So if I want to try and improve my team for 4 and 5, I'll be doing it by getting Pedro for Muniz, or maybe getting rid of Murphy for Mitoma or Minte, depending on which way I fancy it. I don't want to break my team with the Arsenal assets. I'll leave them there for game week 6 for now.
No, it feels more important for me rather than dip off Saka for a couple of games and go back. It feels more important to me to build up the transfers so that should I decide, okay, the robot's got to go in sort of game week 7, 8, that I've got the transfers in hand to do that rather than constantly looking at the team going, okay, if I want to bring him in, it's a -8. And it's just never going to feel worth that for me on one game. If I knew he was going to get out to it again, yeah, great, but it don't.
No. Should we go to some of the questions we've had in on the app?
Do it, boss.
So Craig from Manon, he has Salah and Watkins right now, and he's looking at a hokey to Haaland in 6 or 7, like we discussed, plus a 6.5 million midfielder. Any preference? He says he's currently leaning towards Kudus, who hasn't returned at all yet, has he, this season? From
So this is at game
around
week
6
6,
and
yeah?
7, 6 or 7, he's saying at the moment. Now, 6.5, the reason we go to this question, 6.5 mids was a hot topic at the start of the season. So I don't know if you guys have thoughts have changed around who is an interesting one from game week 6 or 7.
Can I give you a name that might not appear on anyone's radar right now that isn't miles off that a little bit more? Is Sterling.
Yeah, don't hate that. Do not hate that at all.
If he started the next 2, and then you're looking at that Leicester Southampton, the problem I guess Clayton is with obviously Champions League and stuff. Even if he was first choice, you're liable for a bit of rotation there, right?
Yeah, you'd think so. Yeah,
So-
don't hate that at all though.
Where do you see him playing, James?
I would not be surprised if he starts the derby on Sunday. I think
No,
he
I
might
mean-
quickly come to people's attention. I was watching Premier League years last night and seeing like the brilliant goal he scored at the Etihad in February, and it feels like years ago. It's starting regularly for Chelsea, like in the late winter and stuff.
Yeah, but where do you see him playing? Like on the left?
I don't see why not.
So drop Martinelli and Trossard.
Yeah, I don't see why. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts as the 9 on Sunday. That might be something you and I, Clates, talk more on Tottenham Arsenal on Wednesday on Patreon. Yeah, I would not be at all surprised. He's going to have trained with them solidly for the 2 weeks or so. So it's not like others are on internationals and stuff. Yeah, I wouldn't be with the right suspension. You could say it doesn't really correlate, but it might for this particular game where Sterling does go in. He also knows City very well for the game week 5 fixture. If you are arriving at game week 6 and you think, oh, and Raheem Sterling is, say, I don't know, 6.7, I think it's 6.8 already. He's dropped to.
I was going to say
sure.
he's above that 6.5 budget.
I think if it was Craig asked the question, wasn't it?
Yeah.
If he's specifically looking in the 6.5 range, then I think at that point of arrival, yeah, I don't mind Kudos, because I think the others you'd like Eze, Bumo, are obviously a little bit more. I'd throw another name in there is Garnacho, who timing wise doesn't feel right. Oh, who's he playing in game week 6? Tottenham. Yeah, right. He won't blank in that. It doesn't feel like the best time for the fixtures, but I do think it's worth remembering like all the best teams basically come into a difficult run of fixtures together once we get into sort of the October, November period, except for Manchester United. So I don't mind Garnacho as an alternative shout for that as well.
Yeah, it's funny. We were big on the 6.5s in pre-season, but I don't think any of them have run away with it, have they? Like, I'd almost prefer to go to a 5.5, I think, Minter. Well, maybe not from game week 6.
Yeah,
but,
it feels like kind of an empty space time. And to give you an example, like I'm looking at my ticker for game week 6. Bottom 5 I've got is Chelsea, Liverpool, Wolves, Brighton, Newcastle. So from within them teams, you can have like your Madueke's, Netos, Dominic Szoboszlai, your Hwangs, Mitoma, Harvey Barnes. So from
I was going to say if the Gordon on the right, Gordon on the right, Barnes on the left sticks for Newcastle, Harvey Barnes becomes interesting, but their fixtures
not
are
at that point.
horrible. Their fixtures are horrible.
City, so I just don't think you'd go at that
Well,
point.
game week 7, they've got a decent fixture. Is it Everton in game week 7? But then straight after that, they've got Brighton, Chelsea, Arsenal. It's just not a great run there.
Yeah, I'd say another one. This is a wild suggestion. We didn't talk about him on Thursday, and it's probably a little bit of an oversight actually. But for the saving and the fixtures they'll have, I wouldn't mind Dwight McNeil as a 7/8 attacker. I know it sounds ridiculous. Their fixtures are kind of brilliant from that point. He's on obviously a huge number of the set plays where a lot of their goals will come from. If you look at his XA, despite how shit they've been, it's not bad, you know. And that's obviously a saving of money. Another one would be, Clates, maybe timing-wise, Morgan Gibbs-White.
I was just going to say, the reason I laughed when you said McNeil is I've got a real thing for players like him, Gibbs-White, where they're not like sexy picks, but they're just 90 minutes, like lots of routes to points through set pieces and stuff. And that's why, yeah, I was going to throw Gibbs-White in there. Like I said, I'm going to sell him this week, but it's just my team structure. But from game week 6, yeah, his fixtures look decent other than Chelsea away.
At that point, most people will want to buy a Brentford or an Arsenal player in game week 6, I think. Those are the two. Arsenal's very short term. Brentford is quite a long term with like your Boomos, Vissers. And maybe it is something like that where you look at them, okay, maybe it's something like McNeil instead. And then I can use that other million to get me towards Havertz, for example.
Let's go to FPL Bean. And he says he's sad to see that it's an FPL Q&A. Otherwise, he would have asked a non-FPL question. This is not just an FPL Q&A, Mr. Bean. So we will answer his non-FPL question. But let's answer his FPL question first. What are your thoughts on Chelsea assets? Is Palmer James, this is probably one for you. Is Palmer worth swapping Son for, given Spurs' great run until game week 11? Do you have a great run until game week 11?
That's debatable.
Would you, if you own Sonny now, would you be looking at the swap to Palmer? Because Chelsea do have some decent fixtures in there.
I'd have been wanting to do that last week, I think.
Oh, but wanted to do that the week before where he
like obviously he's not hurt massively, but yeah, I'd have been wanting to do that last week, I think. Would I swap Son to Palmer now? Yeah, I probably still would, actually, personally.
Solanke back in training, from what we know?
Don't know.
Okay, so we don't know if Solanke's ready for game week 4 to slot back in to the number 9 role, which may affect Son going back to the left.
Don't think Son would play through the middle against Arsenal either way. I think he would, if he's still without the two forwards, it almost definitely be without Richarlison. I think he probably would go Kulusevski as the 9 again to start. That said, when Kulusevski played deeper, it got better in the second half against Newcastle, which is why I'd said to you, Suj, that I thought that's what he would want to do, was play Kulusevski in a deeper role, which has the impact of pinning them in. There's also something me and Clayton had discussed about. Obviously, Arsenal need to replace Rice, someone in that left 8 position. Actually, if you play Kulusevski as a right-sided 8 for us, really high, the left-sided 8 for Arsenal could end up dragged really deep. That could even be like Havertz, for example, ends up playing a really deep position. That's why I have an inkling, Clayton, so you'll probably just go with a double pivot as a little bit of a one-off for this. Yeah, Son to Palmer, I probably would. On Chelsea assets generally, despite the fact the fixtures being good, the next 2 are now away. Brighton's start means that game week 6 doesn't look as attractive as it did, I think, pre-season. And then beyond game week 7, it's like into Liverpool away and it's tough fixtures. So the rest just feels avoidable. The defence feels completely avoidable at the moment. I think as it progresses, the likes of a Neto or a Madueke might well show up. If I had to buy a second Chelsea player right now, I think it'd be Jackson. Because I think that narrative has changed for him, where we all thought they'd buy a forward and they obviously haven't. And Kunku, yeah.
I've still got him. I need to get rid of him.
He's got to go, Clates,
I know.
Unfortunately. Unless they pick up injuries this week, because I just don't see where he's going to get in. At the moment, he's staggering it. That I'm happy to hold my hands up.
He'll play Conference League and Cup games. And
he was the one in pre-season that was like, you don't want to be chasing that, and everybody who owns is chasing that, trying to chase it out, because it's just hemorrhaging money. And it's like it's still a good fixture,
Oh yeah, for what it's worth, I didn't keep him because I thought he'd keep his place. It was just I only had 1 free, and I personally don't care about value as much. As everyone else, and the moves I made last week, it would have had to, whoever I brought in would have had to outscore João Pedro by 4 points, and I ended up starting him, and unfortunately as an Arsenal fan he scored. But yeah, this week I'll be putting Nkunku out, and Eze's coming in for me, I think.
Okay. Clates, FPL Beans non-FPL question: what is your dream football scran?
Football scran.
What do you eat down there, Emirates?
I had a souvlaki flatbread the other day. That is
in the stadium.
In the stadium, yeah. So
what?
It's going very posh, yeah.
Do you eat it with a knife and fork?
Because I am very
Emirates
much like,
is that place where you see some bastard eat a kebab with a knife and fork.
Yeah.
And also, would you call it souvlaki? Like me and James, we call it a chicken kebab, mate. And you're calling it a souvlaki and a flatbread.
I am very much like, I just like a dusty burger from outside the station usually. So like dream scran. Do you know what? If I go to an Arsenal away day in Europe, I'd like to try some like continental food.
You're such a gooner. You're such a gooner. Bougie. James is going to say chicken, innit?
I don't even recognise this Clayton. Who is he? Yeah, chicken. But the problem with chicken is, it's like if I wanted to go, with 2 o'clock kickoff on Sunday, right? If I want to go to chicken on Sunday, I need to be in a queue at 11:30, mate.
Yeah.
Like it's staggering.
It's too much.
Sausage roll in Tottenham is good. I'm still annoyed I didn't get my sausage roll at Leicester on the opening weekend. Hi, Dad, if you're watching, you're a prick, and I'm still blaming you for that. So yeah, sausage roll.
Fair play.
Sausage roll. If you're in the ground at Tottenham and you say, you can have these burgers and this pizza, don't just have the sausage roll.
Done.
That's the advice.
What's yours, Suj?
Oh, well, it's got to be Ribman, being West Ham, right?
Oh,
Clayton,
yes.
you've had Ribman,
I've
I've had
had
Ribman. James
Ribman.
will be on the toilet for a week with Ribman because it's a little spicy. So maybe not for James. I mean, it's got a barbecue sauce. But I don't know if you call that footy scran because it's not in the stadium. So it is related to football, though. So I'd say Ribman. In the ground, though, chicken balti pie all day long. That's the best thing they used to serve up at West Ham was a chicken balti pie. Even the kids used to love the chicken balti pie. I don't know if I'm being a stereotype there, but it is what it is.
I think I'm adding to the stereotype. I love a chicken balti pie. And best one I've had was at Wolves. So, yeah.
Well, I'm going to add to the stereotype and say I think they're shit.
Cool. For game week 4, Stor Gouda says, should he keep Anthony Gordon or take a hit for Jota or Diaz?
Go on, Clayton.
I wouldn't be taking Gordon out for a hit against Wolves.
It was good Saturday, wasn't he, Gordon?
I didn't actually see. I was at a wedding. I didn't see the game, to be fair.
Okay, useless. He was good Saturday, Anthony Gordon, which I think to go back to points we made pre-tournament.
When's he not? He's a very consistent player. He generally always is in about it.
I don't know. He's not quite right for Newcastle, I think, at the start of this season. So I get the temptation to move for a hit. I don't know. Again, think of that the Liverpool playing in Milan on the Tuesday afterwards. I think that's a no for me. No. It's not to say definitively hold Gordon. I can see.
Plus, also Diaz is coming
away.
back from South America, right? So I don't know. I mean, I think the South Americans. You said it. They finish on Tuesday night. He should be back by Wednesday. Shouldn't be an impact, but it's one to be aware of.
My solution is very similar to Clay's. Like if I've suddenly got an injury this week. And admittedly, we're already on 3 Liverpool. But if Jota got injured, I don't think I'd go to Diaz. I think I'd go to Eze. Same thing. So I'd probably flip that and say, would you take the hit Gordon to Eze? And I think same thing. I'd think no, actually. No. Free transfer, sure. Hit? No, probably not.
Yeah, agree.
Cool. Good. Let's flip it to a non-FPL question here. Karma with Palmer. Holiday destinations, best, worst, and one you'd wish to go to. Where's the best place?
Amsterdam.
Yeah.
It's a great city. What are you laughing for, Clates? Worst? Well, where did we have a really shit away day and was really bad?
Milan?
No, I love Milan. Milan's brilliant. Madrid's brilliant.
You didn't go to Zagreb under Jose, did you?
No, I've not been to these places where
that.
I might die. Not that I have anything against Zagreb, by the way.
You'll be fine in Zagreb.
I've been quite
mate.
fair weather with Tottenham in Europe. I've generally just been to the big ones. So, holidays. No, I don't get about as much as you two probably do. So over to you, I think.
Best has got to be. I mean, probably the Maldives or something like that because it just is so like natural and so different from what you're used to in the UK. That kind of thing. Worst holiday. Oof. I went to Malta, and there's nothing wrong with Malta. It's a nice place, but we went in August. Fuck me, it's 40 degrees every day. So literally, we could have a holiday till about 10:30 in the morning. And then we had to be indoors in the AC till about 4 o'clock in the afternoon and 5 o'clock. And then we could go out again. It was that hot. So that was not ideal just because the temperature was too much and the kids were little then as well. Couldn't take it. So we felt like we had a morning and an evening holiday and nothing in the middle of the day. The one I'm going to go to desperately is Japan. I can't wait to get to Japan. I think that's going to be wicked.
That's answered the third part of that question. That's my dream bucket list one, Japan for me. Never been there. Would love to go there. Yeah.
Nice.
What is my best? My best one was probably Cambodia. I went like March 23, I think. And it was a bit of a different trip for me because it was my first like backpacking one. And I met a lot of new people that were like similarly aligned in values with me and stuff. And learning about the history of the place. Like, I'm not a go and sit around on a beach for 7 days kind of guy. I get very bored very quickly. So I like backpacking and hiking and stuff. So Cambodia was the best. Worst, I don't think I have one, to be honest. You
never had a bad holiday, even when you were a kid with your parents or something. Did they drag you somewhere that you didn't want to go?
I think I was just no. I don't remember any bad ones.
Yeah, but you can't be critical of the place, then, can you? I don't
No.
think.
Only one was it wasn't bad, but my first lads holiday when I was 18 went to Zante and yeah, I just felt ill for about a month after that. So I think that was more like self-inflicted pain as opposed to the actual place. But no, never had a bad holiday to be fair. Touch wood.
Chris Woods, is Ollie Watkins an avoid now? You don't
Right.
own him at all, Clates, do you?
No, and I did intend, like when the season started, I think I had a penciled in move of like Isaac to Watkins in game week 3, and then obviously shit happens and it didn't go to plan. But despite those nice fixtures, I'm not sure I'll be going there just because of what Emery's kind of touched on about a potential injury, the Champions League starting, and just Duran impacting whenever he comes on. I'm not sure. Obviously, I speak a lot about me loving 90-minute players, right? I'm not sure that's the version of Watkins I'd be getting right now. So yeah, I probably wouldn't have him on my radar personally. But I wouldn't say he's an avoid though. No. What about you guys?
I'm on, pleased I'm on, so I don't have to kind of make that decision. It's an easy one to come off of at any point because of his value being second highest as forward. So if it really is becoming a problem over the next couple, it's easy to downgrade. Even arguably, if he does shit in the next two, like straight into Havertz, even in game week 6, for example.
Before he plays Ipswich.
Yeah, but if he's not performing at home to Everton Wolves, then there's a point where you start having to ask some questions.
Yeah.
The next 6 are really good for Villa, kind of really all the way up to Bournemouth at home in game week 9, and even then they go to my team in game week 10, which for him is still a decent fixture. So the fixtures are really good. You're putting your faith, I think, more in Ollie Watkins rather than what you're seeing at the moment. I wouldn't tell anyone, oh, don't buy him. He's that off it, because I think it could switch at any point. I also think I held faith in him last week and a lot sold before he had that haul against Brighton. So there's a psychological of that for me as well, that he kept assisting at the start of last season as well. So he had a little bit of a slow start even last season in terms of his actual goal scoring. So yeah, generally speaking, I'd be keeping the faith with him over this period would be my intention. But I think the idea of, oh, you'll get to this point and you'll have to buy Ollie Watkins, despite Everton's form, it doesn't quite feel like that. I acknowledge that. And I think most who don't own will probably overlook it. Prior to game week 3, a lot were asking me about Isak to Watkins. And I was saying, look, Dr. Tottenham, please wait a week, has proved correct. Now that move looks a little bit more tempting, but it doesn't feel great either.
Yeah, don't buy, don't sell territory, right? Pretty much. I'm with Clayton where I don't own him. And I just have no desperation to get there.
I think if I was on Wildcard, I'd be going in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. On Wildcard is different. But with using free transfers, just because I'm looking at the other strikers, because it's not just the question of Watkins or not, it's who else can you buy? And I'm like, okay, if I hold out a couple of weeks, Havertz might be a better option. Visser, if I need to drop down, might be a better option. João Pedro's been doing all right now, and he's got a good couple coming up. And it's not like Isak hasn't been returning, right? He's still, he's averaging at like 5 points a game. It's not explosive, but it's not 0. Which Ollie Watkins is, I might add. So it's just returns from Ollie Watkins. The problem with Ollie Watkins as well is that Duran has been looking good and playing well, right? He scored a good goal against us. His header was good the other week as well. It's not like they don't have a capable reserve striker in there. Duran's looking decent, and that's the challenge, where there's too many doubts now to make it a must-buy.
No, he's not in must-buy territory.
Yeah, definitely not. But like I said, the fixtures, though, if you're a fixtures head like you are, James, I mean, Everton, Wolves, Ipswich couldn't be better really for him.
I think if I was on Wildcard now, I'd be trying to squeeze in probably Trent, Watkins, Haaland, Salah. If you want the power of it, you're attacking Villa, Liverpool's fixtures, and Haaland, it goes without saying, right? In any case, it's still a great fixture for him this week. I think that's what you're trying to fit in. The problem with that is you then won't go with someone at like Palmer, Saka's value, and you fast forward 2 weeks and you think, oh, I am going to want Saka, I think, for game week 6. But it doesn't have to be. You could go, like we said, Watkins to Havertz in 6, for example. You could set to have Havertz in place now, for example. You can still set to have that set up and still have Jota or Diaz and Bumo ready for game week 6, for example. I think that's the sort of thing a lot of people be looking at the moment.
Yep. A couple of players I wanted to ask you about, Clayton. because they were formerly your boys, and I think they're both at really interesting prices. The first is Eddie Nketiah, who's now at Palace. He's at 5.9. What do we think? Do you think he will take Mateta's place and be first choice given a run of fixtures? Because if he is at 5.9, that's really interesting.
I don't think he'll take Mateta's place. James, we spoke about this last week, right? Whether they'll go with like a two up top with Eze behind, or
they might, but not immediately.
Exactly. But I think Nketiah has been bought for like 25, rising to 30, so he's not going to just go and warm the bench. He will get significant game time, whether it's from the off or it will take some time to ease him in, I'm not sure. But one thing I'm confident in is when he gets a run, I think he'll do very well for Palace. I think he's a better all-round centre forward than people outside of Arsenal think. I think people traditionally look at him as like a fox in the box, a bit of a poacher, but I think he's really developed his all-round game really well in the last 2 years, and he's kind of become a victim of being in an elite club now. So yeah, I think he'll do really well for Palace, but I don't think he'll take Mateta's place straight away. I think it'll take some time, and they potentially might play as a two up top.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting if they do play as a two up top. Though, how many? So few teams now play with two strikers.
Yeah, but then the thing is, like we've already seen, Kamada had an impact in pre-season. Then as soon as Eze was back, it was like Eze took over everything. And Kamada's been in and out the team a little bit. So could you just play Eze as a 10 and let him do what he wants with the two up top? Makes it difficult for centre-backs to come out and go and press in against Eze if people are going man-to-man, for example. So there's definitely potential in that setup for Palace. I think there's a couple of downsides to it. One, if they start with a two up front and they need to take either off, they're probably changing the system now that Edouard's obviously gone on loan to Leicester. And I think, generally speaking, Oliver Glasner historically has wanted to have two behind one rather than one behind two. If you suddenly heard Mateta was injured this week and out for a month or something, I think we'd all look at Nketiah straight away with the next few fixtures that he's got. But
even over Pedro, because they're at a similar price. There's only a couple of
possibly, yes, and it's a little bit more of a sustained run.
Term.
Yeah, Pedro goes to Chelsea in 6, and then Nketiah's going to Everton, for example. So it feels a little bit longer. I mean, over the next 5, I've got Palace well clear of Brighton on my ticker, so I could see the appeal of that sort of thing. That's why I'd want to go for Eze at the moment if I suddenly had a problem. But yeah, unless Mateta was injured, I think that's just wait at the moment.
And Clayton, because of Morgan Rogers going up to 5.1, some might be looking for a 5 million midfielder. And there is always recency bias, or your opinion on a player is always like what you remember. And Reece Nelson, when he's come on and come off the bench, has scored goals and accumulated points, although he has only ever really come off the bench and got minutes. He's at Fulham now. Do we see him getting into the team ahead of maybe an Iwobi? And if he does, is there points there? Is he an alternative to like a Smith Rowe? I think you've squad getting back together.
Yeah, I know. I actually messaged a Fulham mate of mine saying, "Can I come watch a game?" But I think he's another one like Nketiah, wait and watch, to be honest, because I don't think he'd take Iwobi's place on the left. I think they've signed him to potentially challenge Adama Traore on the right, but I'm not sure. Like, I need to get more information from Fulham fans, to be honest, on how Adama Traore is rated within Fulham circles. Because speaking for Nelson, like, we've never seen him in sustained patches at Arsenal, unlike Eddie Nketiah that started a good 8 to 13 games in a row at one point. We've not seen that with Nelson. Like you say, it's moments off the bench. So I think that's very, like, I wouldn't be remotely interested right now, to be honest, just because of the uncertainty on the place.
Yeah, again, it's not, these are kind of players that are not must get, but ones that actually could be interesting and be ones to definitely work towards potentially. Like one of the questions that we had in, let me find it here, was from FPL Crisis. The reason I raise a couple of these is that he says a lot of content creators are recommending very similar players for like upcoming wildcards, which is unsurprising, like Salah, Palmer, Trent. What are the players with low ownership that have high ceilings that we might be looking at? He asked for 2 or 3 in every position. I don't know if we can actually.
Well, I think really James gave a good one earlier. Sterling, if he starts the next 1 or 2, I think that's a really good shout that I hadn't considered myself, and I'm an Arsenal fan, so I think that's a really good shout.
there's a reason why content creators will largely recommend the same players.
Because they're usually the best pool of players.
Yeah, sorry, it's different for the sake of being different. I mean, I've thrown a couple in, right? I wouldn't say high ceiling as such, but Dwight McNeil, a player at a similar value who probably isn't getting spoken about much, but might be one to gamble on for wildcard is Jacob Ramsey, who there's a load of attention, obviously, on Morgan Rogers for obvious reasons and being cheaper. But particularly maybe for those who don't want to go without Watkins, subject to confirmation of how long Leon Bailey's going to be out. If Bailey was out for this period of really good fixtures for Villa, Ramsey probably plays the majority of it. To counter that, you've still got the Champions League problem. Does Emery play the exact same team that he plays against Everton on Saturday that he then plays in Switzerland on the Tuesday? Like, who's got the experience of seeing Villa in the Champions League? None of us know what the answer to that's going to be, right?
And you need a bank loan to be able to do it now as well, apparently, with their ticket prices.
I'd say one as a cheap forward, maybe really lowly owned as well, as Liam Delap at Ipswich, who, by all accounts, played quite well against Fulham. He scored a good goal. Bernd Leno probably should have done better with it. But they've got a good run of fixtures. He's at enabling price where I think people are more likely to go to, say, João Pedro or Welbeck. But if it goes badly in 5-6, you might then go at 4-5. Okay, let's move on to Ipswich, who have a good run for a few games. I think probably people will overlook Ipswich. I think they might do quite well over the next couple of months, actually. And there's others there you can keep an eye on, such as Sammy Schmodix, for example, or Mari Hutchinson. Schmodix feels a little bit pricey to me at 6. I think in 5.5, that would have been quite interesting, actually. Lowly owned player. I'd tell you what, if he can get his arse off the toilet, Phil Foden.
Yeah, I did see that the story from Johnny Pringle, about the old curry house up in Manchester. That's footy scran that you won't be visiting, is it?
No. I think, though, to familiar players, I still think Garnacho, I think is going to have a brilliant season. And I know there'll be people on who are still thinking of selling, and I get that. I don't know. I think their run, if you look at it, Southampton away, he's fine. Palace away is obviously a challenge. Tottenham at home is likely to have goals. Villa away is different now that they've got Champions League again. Then they've got Brentford at home. It's not that bad of a run for United. And most people have probably come off Garnacho. He's right on my radar.
Right? He's 6.4 now, so definitely most people have come off because he's had a price drop.
And actually, to go back to Nketiah point, Mateta's ownership must be pretty low at the moment. Must be. And he's got a good run of fixtures.
He is, James, at 4.2% ownership. He's going into Leicester, Man United, Everton, then Liverpool, but then Forest, then Spurs. But like we always say with Spurs, you're going to get chances.
Mitoma, next couple.
It's just decent, yeah.
I think I don't know if Bowen is in many drafts. I've not been on Twitter too much, but his ownership is 5.9, and I look at that run and like he's already got 15, I think, this season. Like, I don't know if that's considered a differential or if everyone's talking about him already, but I look at that run and like him.
Yeah, the only off-putting with that, I think he's not knowing who's going to play up front at the moment. What do you think, Suj? Fulker come in for the weekend now? He scored for Germany at the weekend, didn't he?
No, I don't see it. I think Antonio will start. But he's got to find a way of figuring out what to do with that front four. If he wants to get Somerville in, does that mean Kudus to the right and try and Bowen up top even as a potential consideration? I think there's going to be some jiggery pokery around there. I mean, I think what you can say is that Bowen, Kudus, Paqueta will play. You just can't guarantee where they will play. And yeah, Fulker could have had a little bit more time to adapt, but I don't see him coming straight in. Antonio probably went to go and chat to Steve McLaren down in Jamaica as well for the international break.
I saw Steve giving it fist bumps.
I love that video.
What a guy.
Yeah, he is indeed, isn't he?
It could have only been better if he was holding an umbrella in the other hand. It's the only thing that could have made it better.
Nah. Yeah, possibly. Good. Cool. Right. What another question coming in here, maybe as the planning expert, James. If not wildcarding in Gameweek.
You did not just call me an expert at my own podcast, mate.
On planning chips. On planning chips. Not on FPL, on fixtures. Listen, mate, you've got an Excel spreadsheet that's your fucking secret fantasy. So if not wildcarding in Game Week 6, what do you think is the other windows of opportunity? We've talked about Game Week 18, 19 around Christmas being quite late. Any others that people should consider?
Yeah, I think once you get beyond sort of 6, 7, and maybe 8, and I say 8 because of things like sort of Chelsea's fixture run ending, you're coming towards the end of Villa's fixture run, if people gone heavy on those sort of teams. Once you go beyond sort of 8, I think you're really looking at sort of going up to sort of like Game Week 14, 15. There's like a dead period there where you just want to ignore. Like I'm looking at top teams on my ticker, Game Weeks 9 to 13. Brentford, Man United, Wolves, Fulham, Everton, Leicester, Nottingham Forest, Ipswich. Those are the teams with the best fixture. So, I can't tell you who's in form in 5 weeks. If you're asking me now and I'm looking at the fixture, I'm going, well, I don't want to target that. What those teams enable is, things like Watkins to Cunha, for example, as movements. People want to go back into an Emil Smith-Rowe, perhaps a Leicester player develops, allows you more to hold like your Haaland and Salah drafts together, because you might start looking at players who are cheaper. Okay, I'm going to move Havertz to Vissa now, for example. But if you're looking to wildcard that period, what are you targeting?
Yep.
I mean, I've got to give you that other way around. The teams with the worst fixtures, 9 to 13. Villa, Liverpool, Arsenal, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Southampton, Newcastle, West Ham, Man City. I'm not what am I wildcarding for? They've all got shit together. It's what I said. The anomaly is Manchester United. Tottenham are kind of in the middle of that. So, yeah, I think beyond sort of 8, you're going to end up waiting until December. And that's fine. I know that's probably your strategy idea, Clayton, is to wait till later on. And that's fine. For me, I defined it pre-season as it was either going to be very early or very late as first wild card. And my opinion on that hasn't changed.
Cool. That's the questions we've had in on the internet. So we're going to leave it with a couple of food-related questions from our patrons. Matt, clean sheet wipeout. Married Matt now, we should say, a couple of weeks
Congrats,
ago.
Matt.
Congrats,
Congratulations.
If you're still married.
Well, I saw 50 Cent on an interview the other day, and someone asked him, "Yeah, are you married?" He goes, "No, I haven't made that mistake yet." Because I've made plenty of mistakes in my life. I made that one. So read into it what you will, Matt. Should hot apple pie be served with custard, vanilla ice cream, or single cream? I like
Definitely.
an apple pie.
I love an apple pie.
Do you know, I'm that bastard. When you go to McDonald's, and I haven't been to McDonald's a lot over here in Portugal, I'll get an apple pie and a mini McFlurry, and I'll put the mini McFlurry on the hot apple pie. Do you do that as well, Clay?
I do that, yeah. I was just going to say the answer.
James,
go on, James.
Come on. Tell me you do that at
Don't
McDonald's.
go to McDonald's and buy fruit.
Oh, mate, the fruit bags are good. I'm torn. I like vanilla ice cream melting, but I also love custard.
Same.
So,
I feel single cream is definitely...
Fuck the single cream.
Yeah, fuck that.
Fuck the
Get
single
rid
cream.
of that shit.
Custard and vanilla ice cream, I'm going to give it a 50-50. I'm going to say
on.
either or.
Custard.
All right, James has the deciding vote.
Executive decision. Smart.
Yeah, sorry.
Custard. Alex Barrett, Diet Coke or Pepsi Max? But he hasn't put Coke Zero in this question.
Yeah, well, there's that now, isn't it? It's probably better than Diet Coke, isn't it? Going to upset some people. Coke versus Pepsi is one of them people get really angsty about. It's a little bit like, if I tell someone a player's not essential in FPL, but it is essential. All right, you think it is. That's great. I'm going to go Coke, and I've just upset 50% of our community. Who are like, surely it's Pepsi. Like, genuinely, Coke versus Pepsi really pisses people off.
Oh, mate.
I got a 50-50 win and 50-50 lose.
I don't drink full sugar drinks, but I drink a lot of diet ones. And just out of habit, I just always get a Diet Coke because I think it's always been the diet drink that's been available for the longest. And my friend always rips me because he's like, Coke Zero's easily the best. Why do you not get it? But it's just a habitual thing. I just always get a Diet Coke. So Diet Coke for me. Diet
Coke is an acquired taste as well because it tastes a little bit chemically. So I'm a Coke Zero kind of guy, except there's one chicken and chip shop close to me here where I go full fat every single time. It's like I'm getting chicken and chips. I'm having a full fat Coke with the chicken and chips here. So
I don't need to get chicken and chips for that decision.
Full fat Coke. Sometimes you need it, the caffeine and the sugar. So this podcast is definitely a Coca-Cola podcast. So if you're listening and you work for Coca-Cola Group, send your sponsorship dollars to help@planetfpl.com.
He's sitting there in a month for me. Vanilla Coke.
Nice. Cool. That's a wrap, boys. That's all the questions we've had in. Anything else to add?
Yeah, I got some questions then. What are you doing with transfers this week, Suj?
Trying to roll. The things that I don't like in my team is Fulham at home to West Ham, and I've got 3 of them. Leno, Smith Rowe, and Muniz. Leno is what it is. I was almost hoping that Areola was injured, but he did travel with France, so then I would have played Fabianski. So Leno stays. Smith Rowe will probably stay as well. Muniz is the one that's likely to be on the chopping block. But more than likely, I will roll.
I might end up captaining Muniz at this rate.
Yeah.
And yourself, Clates?
As it stands, I'm on Pete's site, shoutout FPL.team. I am looking to do Nkunku and Gibbs White to Eze and Minter for free. And then that will give me a benching headache on Minter versus Rodgers, but I like those 2 moves.
Yeah, I like those moves.
Yeah, what would be the headache?
Rodgers versus Minter on who I bench.
If you bring Minter in, he's playing, isn't he?
I think so, yeah. What about you, James?
I suppose benching dilemma for me this week is I'm probably going to play Rodgers over Bumo. That's just a fixture. I don't intend to do that in game week 5 when Brentford go to Tottenham, but I think game week 4, yes. With Bumo going to City, I just think like how badly could he score? Yeah, of course. Is that likely to hurt me badly? No, probably not. I mean, what could hurt me in that City versus Brentford game after all? Not a lot, I shouldn't imagine. Yeah, the big one for me is captaincy this week. I only see me making a transfer if I walk into an injury, and if I do, I'm not going to piss about. I'll get stuff done. I think Eze is the one I would go to in midfield for the majority of problems I've got. Muniz is on chopping block for me, but I don't see the value in moving that on. I still think it's a decent fixture this week. His next 2 are at home. I'll leave that be, and then it's possible him to Visser or Isak or Watkins to Havertz in 6. That's my intention, is to roll through the next couple, get the game week 6 and add an Arsenal or a Brentford player. And then we've got Haaland's swing afterwards. Hopefully then I've got a few transfers in bank and we'll make a definitive decision by then. Although I think for me, having looked at plans again on FPL team, it's still more likely that I'd take him on. As stupid as that is. Don't do what I do, kids. I'm not telling you this is the way to play. Like, it's not advisable. It comes with like a parent advisory warning or something if you want to go without Haaland at the moment.
Well, having said that, despite us all playing very different ways, how many points are between us, Hammers?
6.
There we are. Different ways to skin it.
Yeah, like I said, it's tight between everybody at the moment. Top million.
I'm going to get absolutely destroyed this week. And
I don't think you are,
James.
I know
that. Yeah. This is the bad week.
The reason being, every time I always feel like I'm going into a game week without confidence. It never is as bad as I think it's going to be.
Okay. Cheers, Ben.
I don't know, but have I not
so convinced?
Have I not helped you feel any more confident? Like, even last week, I thought it was going to be awful. Like, whatever I scored, it wasn't.
The idea behind having all these good players and having several different choices for captaincy wasn't for me to sit here and talk myself out of all of them, which is basically what I've done here. So yeah, I need to. That's going to have a big impact on my week, isn't it? If I pick the right one, because I'm sure one of my players within my team will do very well. If I pick the right one, I'll have a good week. The chances are, based on my historical picking captaincies, when it's not a popular sort of Salah Haaland choice, suggest that I'll probably get that decision wrong. It's a reality. I'll do my predictions for the differential show on Friday, and then that will decide my captaincy.
Yeah,
which means I'll probably end up on Watkins.
Whatever you decide is going to be the best result is the one to go with. And I don't think you should be scared of going with a defender like Trent or Robertson.
I may go with Trent.
If you think Liverpool are going to keep a clean sheet, then it might be a safe option.
But I'm like I said, I'm more psychologically I'm put off that they haven't conceded yet. That makes them. They're due to concede one. That's how I feel. I can't help that's how I feel.
Yeah. Cool. Good. James, what's the schedule for the rest of the week?
Lauren Harris will be joining me tomorrow for a preview of the women's football season. The WSL starts next Friday. Wednesday, Clayton and I will be doing our podcast. It will no doubt feature some England chat following Saturday and obviously England's game tomorrow night as well, amongst other things. Thursday's clash of correspondence this week is Fulham versus West Ham. With Lewis James and Chris Stone. I'll be streaming Friday. 2:00 is the penciled in time UK time audio available afterwards. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/planetfpl. Our podcasts this week include another Q&A today. Me and Clayton's doing UCL Fantasy, having a look at a watch list of players of interest tomorrow. Tottenham Ask Wednesday will be previewing Sunday's North London derby. Money in Football, me and you, boss, on Thursday, looking at our Leicester of managed to swindle the Premier League, basically. And we'll have our Game Week 4 preview on Friday.
I don't know if Leicester have swindled the Premier League, mate. I think the Premier League has shot themselves in the, I was going to say in the foot, they shot themselves in the bollocks. So
yeah. Up in the bollocks, up the arse, both feet.
Yeah. Good. As James said, patreon.com/planetfpl, as well as the additional content that James mentioned, Slack community, James's fixture planning spreadsheet, some prize leagues, and a bunch of other fun stuff as well. We'd love to have you as part of the community that's growing stronger and stronger. Patreon.com/planetfpl. If you don't want to join Patreon, that's obviously not a problem. Why not give the show a like wherever you're listening? If it's on an audio platform, thumbs up on YouTube, subscribe to the show, do all of that stuff that helps spread the word. Most importantly, stay safe and look after yourselves. Ciao for now.
Mate, say something.
Thank you, everyone.
Useless.
So polite.
Be nice to each other, everyone. Play it your way. Cue music, please. Man child.